Do we lean into YouTube? Do we lean into Instagram? Do we focus exclusively on one or another? And I think right now, we actually just made the decision a few weeks ago that we were going to focus exclusively on Instagram and make content specifically for Instagram. Just being the fact that we see there's churches everywhere doing online. No one's doing anything specifically for Instagram. There are a few churches that are. Our buddies at InstaChurch, Alex and his wife, are doing obviously Instagram exclusively, and a few other people, but we see on Sunday, for example, churches post we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, but no one's really going live on Instagram. So
hello, my name is Micah Foster, and you are watching or listening to From the Garoffice, a video podcast that I do from my garage office. In this episode 8, I speak to a young Aaron who is planting a digital-first church. What that means, digital first, is that they have no plans of being in person outside of their team that creates the content and things of that sort. So it's a very interesting prospect, something that's growing. I'm going to have in a couple of weeks, I'm having a conversation with a gentleman who works with Stadia Church Planting Network, and they are starting a digital church planting cohort. It's the only church planting network that I know of that is putting any energy behind that because they're seeing the opportunity, especially during COVID. So this church, Aaron's church, is called The Shift, and you can find it on Instagram, The Shift Online. They have done some YouTube as well, but they're primarily focusing on Instagram. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. Well, thank you, Pastor Aaron. Thanks for joining me on the From the Garoffice podcast with Micah Foster. This is Aaron, and he is the pastor of a digital-first church plant, which is a sort of a new concept. I mean, I think those have been around for a while, but it's actually becoming something that people know about now. So really wanted to have a conversation with you about that, because this podcast really does talk to pastors who are using digital means to reach people, especially since COVID-19 has moved many of us online and made it difficult for us to meet in person. And for some of us who are sort of portable churches, it's made it almost impossible to meet at the hour we'd like in person. So I would love to hear from you. What are, I guess, just tell me some context for your life. Where are you at? How did you get into this?
Actually grew up in Central Valley, California. So most time I like to say Fresno because that's where people will know it from. So I just say Fresno, and that's the Valley. But I moved to Washington State in 2013, where I kind of finally found kind of my niche in media, and wasn't really interested in that kind of path until about 2013 as far as media. And ever since then, I kind of just started grooming. I mean, me and my wife started a vlog in like 2014 or whatever. Gotcha. And that kind of developed into some more things. And, about a year ago, we're like, I don't think we're using this gift or this thing that we've developed to the full extent that we should, being that our lives are ministry. And that's what we do. We love to minister. We love to worship. We love to just give and serve. And we just felt like creating little funny videos on YouTube wasn't really using that and utilizing that to the best of our abilities, So we kind of put together, obviously, myself and my wife and a few other friends and family that wanted to team up with us and kind of help put this together and really just kind of jump at it. And then, like you said, COVID hit, and that's kind of accelerated so much and helped us kind of figure out where we're going with it. But it's definitely a journey, and it's a fun one, that's for sure.
Yeah. So first of all, where were you at in Washington?
Yakima Valley.
All right.
So you know where that's at?
Yeah, I got some family in Washington, so been up through there plenty of times.
Super similar to my wife. When we moved here, she's like, this is literally the same place, just a different state. It's like the same land, everything. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. It's not as cold here, but that's fine.
Well, that's awesome, man. So tell me, you mentioned, you have a team or some people with you.
Right.
So I think I've seen some different people on some of your stuff, maybe leading worship.
Mhm.
So what does your physical team consist of right now?
Yeah, right now it's just obviously my wife and I.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's always expressed a lot of heart for obviously ministry, and media is one of his things.
Cool.
So he's part of the team, helps us with some video background, and obviously worship. He's a part of worship. We have another friend that actually just joined us a few weeks ago, and kind of expressed interest in kind of diving into this world with us digitally. And then actually my father, he's been a pastor for over 20 years. So
Wow.
he actually just retired from pastoring himself, being only, I think he's 48 right now. So that's pretty young to retire, but he just felt like it was his time, after 20 plus years, to, you know what, let's just give some time to our granddaughter. And
Wow.
he's kind of my back and my support to make sure I'm staying down the right roads,
Cool.
and,
Need
keeping me
that.
in check.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So tell me, so you guys started officially when?
Yeah, we launched officially in May. Beginning of May
Mm-hmm.
was our first videos. We dropped our mission video and some worship that first day as like the official announcement to the shift. I think it was like a 45-second video of just what we're going to do, what we're going to be about. But yeah, it's been a couple months now. It seems like it goes by so fast.
So what is the mission of the shift?
Yep, it's just to kind of make it impossible for people to not know Jesus. We like to say it's not just a moment, it's a movement. A lot of the time we get caught up in emotions and just specific moments in, if you want to call it church or an encounter, whatever you want to say, experience, a service. But we want to create a movement, and we haven't even seen what that movement's going to look like yet. We're just kind of getting the ball rolling, but we just want to create something that changes some things. It makes you think about certain situations, and we don't want to just make a video because we sound good or it looks good. We want to make something that helps you and challenges you to think a little bit differently than maybe you did before. But yeah, so the unknown becomes our natural habitat. We like to say that too. See, it's so comfortable in the unknown so that it becomes natural to us.
So what are your primary platforms that you guys are doing this on?
Yeah, so right now we were doing Instagram and YouTube. We like to say we're both in digital marketing. Me and my brother, that's what we do as careers.
Okay.
So we know the first 6 months to a year is going to be a lot of figuring it out, and it's a lot of what works, what doesn't. So right now we're kind of in that phase of, do we lean into YouTube? Do we lean into Instagram? Do we
Mm-hmm.
focus exclusively on one or another? And I think right now we actually just made the decision a few weeks ago that we were going to focus exclusively on Instagram, and make content specifically for Instagram. Just being the fact that we see there's churches everywhere doing online. No
Mm-hmm.
one's doing anything specifically for Instagram. There are a few churches that are. Our buddies at Insta Church, Alex and his wife, are doing
Mm-hmm.
obviously Instagram exclusively, and a few other people. But we see on Sunday, for example, churches post, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but no one's really going live on Instagram. So we're definitely leaning into Instagram, and that's going to be the focus of where a lot of our content is uploaded.
So we've actually experimented with some stuff on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Because we were doing, when this thing hit, I was like, we had to make a quick shift to online service. It was like one week I was standing up front saying, hey guys, I know this thing is concerning, but really there's nothing to be concerned about in our area. There's the numbers are very, very low.
Right.
So everything's okay. And then Tuesday, like everything hit the fan, and I had to make a video. Hey, I know what I said on Sunday, but things changed. So we're going to be online, and I had to kind of go, and shift right over. So, so we started doing right away. I went into, Restream.io, and I set it up to restream to a bunch of platforms at the same time, experimenting with Twitch as well as, like 3 other. So I think I was on Twitch. We were on Twitch, Twitter, because Twitter still has a live video.
Periscope.
People don't realize it's still there, because it's just kind of integrated now. And then Facebook and YouTube. And then because of the way I had to do it. I couldn't do Instagram at the same time. And so I had to do Instagram after that. So I would do it like a second service almost on a different platform. And what I found was for us, the retention rate on Instagram was a lot lower. And so I stopped doing the whole service on there. I still don't, I want to use it, but I'm not going to put the whole thing on there. So tell me, and Alex, you mentioned he's going, right. He's always changing things all the time, the time. But right now he's got YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok live going at the same time. So that's like his 3, but I think they're all on different devices just facing him. So that's his deal. And he's like, he's filming in a garage port at their apartment or complex or what condo. I don't even know what kind of housing they have, but he's got like a garage port that he's painted all black. He used to put names on there, like TikTok names. He painted it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just watched a part of it on Sunday. He had 1,000 people watching just on Instagram Live. 1,000 people watching on Instagram Live. Then you add in the TikTok and the YouTube, and then he's got a podcast that he'll repost it too. And it's like, man, that's a lot of people they're reaching. And you can see the trolls in the comments, but they don't even acknowledge it. Just the people in the comments are taking care of that. And anyway, it's pretty incredible. The opportunity is amazing. I heard a stat the other day said 62% of people do not want to attend a physical church. 62% of people, not just Christians, just people. But 80% are open to a conversation with a friend if their faith is serious, if they're, if it means something to them. Right. And so that's a pretty big deal when you think about trying to reach people and reach people where they're at. Now, so tell me a little bit about right now in your experimental infancy. Right. You're still figuring it out. I think we all are. Yep. You're going to change a bunch. But right now, 2020, in the end of July, what are you doing right now? What's your release schedule? How are you,
right.
All that kind of stuff.
We wanted to keep something that we knew we could sustain, that we could keep consistent with. So we're attempting to do 2 videos a week, and we've been really good at that since we started. We wanted to break up worship and our conversation. We call it a conversation, a sermon, a preaching, whatever you want to call it. We break those 2 videos up because we've heard comments and we've done some surveys of some people aren't into music, and that's one thing of church they don't like, and but they want to hear the conversation, and sometimes even vice versa, believe it or not. So we got to try to mold those things together. But we release worship on Fridays, and then Sundays we release our conversation or our sermon. But one of the reason why we decided that is we thought about it when you're watching a TV show, right? They have professionals designed to create something to keep your attention for an hour. I'm not a professional. None of the pastors that I really know are professional in production, in media, in entertainment. How do we expect to keep someone's attention for an hour to an hour and a half when full TV shows are still trying to figure out how to do that?
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we got, like, why can't we condense and cut the fat from something, do it in 15 minutes, make sure they understand some Bible that they maybe have never gotten before, and make it in a way that makes sense with keeping the same message behind it. So that's kind of our thought process behind it. But right now we're just trying to find something we can consistently post, consistently do, even when things go back to a little bit of normal or whatever that's going to look like. And some of us go back to work, like I'm going back to work Monday. It's all about, can we keep it consistent throughout the entire change and throughout life? That's just, we don't do this full time. We still have bills to pay like everybody else. So it's just, as I'm sure you understand that as a pastor, something you can sustain while still paying the bills on the other side of life, I guess.
Sure. And so you mentioned, first of all, how long are your conversations? Are those 15 minutes too?
So we try to keep it anywhere from 10 to 20. Obviously, if there's a thought there that it needs more than 10, 15 minutes, go ahead. I mean, we get it. Everyone, you need to get that point across, whatever point that is, whether it's me speaking, my wife speaking, or another friend we have that joins us on a particular week. But yeah, we try to keep it under 20 minutes if we can, just so that we try to keep as much engagement as we can at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got something, well, it's all together for us, right? We've got like, we start with like a little countdown. There's a different host every week. So I've got like 8 different people that I send someone to go video them. They give me the clips. I put it in. But I write the script for them. And then they kick it over to me. And then I'll set up what's going on. And then I'll kick it over to a couple songs that are pre-recorded. That we've done. We do like batch recordings of worship. So we'll do like 8 to 10 songs.
Same.
And then I'll take 2 of them and that feel right for what we're doing that day and put them in. And then what I like about that too, is it allows us to release those songs individually as well, like post. And then from there, we'll go into messages, like 15 minutes max. When I'm preaching live, it's like 40, 45.
Right.
But like you said, like 40, 45 minutes preaching as if people are in the room, it doesn't translate to me unless you're like one of the top guys in the world. Those guys can do it. But me, like I'm not that guy. So I cut so much out. I basically preach an outline, not a fleshed out message. Like it's not, I don't have all that extra stuff to kind of get me from point to point. It is pretty boom, 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 boom. And so it's an outline that I'm preaching. And so it's 15 minutes, 12, 15 minutes. And then the host comes back on at the end. I'll pray. I'll do a prayer and ask people to have some sort of response. Maybe it's just, maybe it's salvation. Maybe it's something else. Pray this prayer with me. And I'll lead them through a prayer, and then our host will come back. And we just added in questions after the prayer, like like 20 seconds on the screen. Hey, here's some discussion questions. And the host will come back. And then we post in a private Facebook group and on Instagram, we'll post a short video from that host right after the service saying, hey, so glad, it would be like, hey, my name is Micah. I had the pleasure of being the host today. So glad you could hang out with us. I got one question. What's your big takeaway from today? Here's some questions to help you digest what we're talking about, because application makes all the difference. God bless you. See you around, that sort of thing. And so it's a real quick deal, but it's a further engagement, trying to get them into another step of engagement with the content. Because, as James writes, just knowing stuff doesn't matter. It's applying stuff to your life. So we're trying to help people move to that next stage of not just hearing it, but applying it to their life. Yeah. So those are some of the things that we've done. And so our service is actually together. We do a simulated live service on Facebook on Sundays at 10:30. And the reason 10:30 is because that's when our live services used to be, our in-person services used to be. Yeah. But I think what we're going to do, because there's a certain demographic of people who are, for us, who are missing it because it feels too late to them. The service feels too late in the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue going live on Facebook, but we're going to have it premiere on YouTube at like 8 a.m. So people can go watch it early if they want, but if they want to engage with people in the chat, which is really what the Facebook crowd does, is talking in the chat through the whole thing. Then they come to the 10:30 thing. So that's a little bit about what we're doing right now. So I'd love to know, what is your plan for, because I think a big part of trying to do digital church is not just a one-way conversation. It's not just a presentation or a performance. It's a relationship you have with the person on the other side of the screen. So what are you guys doing to foster that connection, that community?
Yeah, community is our next phase, if I can call it that. It's trying to figure out what's the best practice, because everyone's doing Zoom.
Yep.
Everyone's doing all the, and I think that's great. And I think you can continue the conversation of what was talked about on Sunday in those groups. It's just finding the people to lead them, I think, is where we're getting kind of not caught up, because we haven't really attempted to roll it out yet. We're just trying to stay consistent and kind of lay the foundation of what we want to do. But what we have kind of dreamed of is having those groups in different parts of obviously the country, and having those groups, if they're in the same kind of general area, do life together if they can. If that's a possibility, let's say I have friends in Washington that want to team up with us. They start the group there, they watch the videos together or watch them online, then come and meet once a month together and do something in the community. And that's kind of what our dream is to have like these little bubbles, I guess, for lack of a better word, everywhere, all over the place, while they're meeting online, maybe once or twice during the week in a Zoom group or in a FaceTime chat, whatever it is, still have an opportunity for them to come together. If they're in the local area, maybe they have to drive a little bit, 30 minutes in some region of the country, to where they can create that community. That's the dream. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of weight on our shoulder, and we're still trying to figure it out of what's the best method to do it. But community is going to be one of the biggest things that digital churches are going to struggle with. How do we connect? How do we get them connected instead of just taking in, but having a relationship? And I think a lot of churches are going to struggle with that. Even the best churches, I'm sure, have some sort of trouble with that. I'm sure the Elevations and the Transformations and the Hillsongs all have some sort of strategy to doing it. I don't know if they have it all figured out either. But yeah, I think that's going to be the struggle for everybody that decides to do digital. The digital space is, how do we create community and make it a genuine, authentic community where people do life? And I think we've seen that a little bit already. Even our DMs is, I never would have dreamed what honestly the DMs look like. Like, they're sliding into the DMs. Like, that's the thing. They want relationship. They need help. They want help. They're reaching out for help. And I think it's just our job to, if you're going to start this thing, make sure you're answering those messages. And that's such a big thing, because they're reaching out. They want somebody. They want something. They don't know necessarily what they're searching for, but they're searching for something. And are we going to be the people? Are we going to be the church? I mean, all of us, not just the shift. I mean, Pastor Micah, yourself, are we going to be the church to answer that call and to answer what they're searching for, or help at least point in the direction of, there's a man I can point you to, you know? So, I mean, as far as community, we're still trying to figure that out. We have some ideas of what we want to do. Nothing is obviously set in stone. But for us, so early on in our foundational kind of setting time, we're just trying to be consistent before we roll out and bite off too much before that we can't chew, you know?
Right. A couple of things. First thing, you know, we've been running as a church, we've been running some Facebook ads, just vertically shot, a quick, like, have you ever thought about, or here's a verse that I think may bless you. We're going to be talking about this on Sunday. Love for you to come join us online. And so those are really interesting, the engagement you get from those. But so we have a couple of Zoom groups going. We have a Tuesday night and a Thursday night Zoom group. My wife and I lead the Thursday night Zoom group. And there's about 12 of us, 11, 12 of us in the group. And we got a message about 20 minutes before on Thursday, someone from, I think it was Lemoore, who was like, hey, do you guys have Bible studies? And I was like, listen, I got a group that meets on Zoom in 20 minutes. You want to check it out? And they were like, sure. So just sent them over the link, praying to God they were a real person and not some crazy person that was going to come in and, like, you know, do something really inappropriate on camera or something. Like we've heard the horror stories. And I had my little finger on the like, you know,
cancel button
as their name was popping up. I'm like, don't you dare. And then, you know, it turns out to be a real person. And they hung out with us for an hour and had good conversation. And now she's in on we have a group text going for that group. And so she's in on, she just texted a few minutes ago, asking a question to the group. And so I just think, first of all, that person is someone we would have never reached before.
Right.
And they something about how we presented ourselves online made them feel comfortable enough to try to engage with us. And they had a good time, and they felt like there was something real there, something authentic. They said, you guys seem like very genuine people. I'd like to come back. And so I was like, hey,
that's awesome, man.
Anytime. So I feel like there's a lot of people out there who could be that person. Mm-hmm. Speaking of kids, since my daughter just came in and interrupted us, do you have kids?
I have, yeah. We have a 6-month-old daughter.
Wow.
So that's another thing we're trying to stay consistent with, is doing all this, is making sure I'm balancing things, so that's another thing with content creation, just being super genuine and honest. You got to balance it, man. It gets tough.
Now so this is a big question for anyone who's trying to do digital ministry.
Yep.
Kids. Not only for like the schedule of trying to put stuff out, but how are you serving or trying to help disciple kids?
I honestly don't. We don't feel like we have the resources to do it just yet, which is why we're even scaling back to focusing on Instagram solely, because it's just me doing a lot of the creation. So like, I don't want to stretch myself that thin, and I don't want to be up, taking all this time when I could be spending time with my family and my wife and my daughter, or ever feel like I'm taking time away from them. So that's another major reason why we're focusing solely on Instagram, just because I do want to have that balance, and I feel like that's healthy. I got to take care of my household before I can try to ever help somebody else's, if that makes sense, But yeah, it's all about balance. But as far as like a kids ministry, I'm guessing is what you're asking more so about, right?
Just what do you have a plan or a thought to minister to that population or help people?
As far as when I'm thinking kids, I'm thinking like they're 1, 2, 3 years old, and you know what I mean? But I don't have anything specifically for that. I know our demographic right now is like 14 to, I think it goes to about 22, 23. They're still kids too. I feel like I'm still a kid sometimes, but yeah, I mean, if that's what we're talking about too, it's just for us making it as simple as we can and helping them understand the things that sometimes is overcomplicated. And we just try to always know that they're searching for something too. There's a reason why there's a screen time setting now to show what you're spending all your time on. So we're just trying to bring light into their world and bring the church to the world, to where they're at on their screens, and just doing our best to make that connection.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We're a lot of our demographic is families with young kids, like 6th grade and younger. We've got 3 in that elementary age bracket. And so that's been a big concern for us, is how are we in this time serving those families, helping those kids grow. And the thing we keep coming back to is the fact that the parents are the primary, they have the primary responsibility of raising their kids spiritually. So it's not the church's responsibility, but we want to resource and help the parents in that. So right now, like what we're doing, we're utilizing videos that an organization, Orange, do you know the Orange Rethink group? Those guys, they're the foremost leader in the world of children's ministry, resources and curriculum and that sort of thing. But they put out a weekly like story worship. It's like 10 to 20 minutes, and they put it on YouTube. And so anybody can go watch it, and they have it broken down in different age brackets. And so our kids, we watch the oldest, it's geared towards like 4th and 5th graders.
Right.
We watch that together at some point on Sunday. And then there's a question at the end that we talk about. And I'm trying to find ways to continually have spiritual conversations with my kids. Like, yesterday I had this, like, I was at the lunch table with them. My wife was working. We both work from home, so we're constantly, juggling who's watching the kids, who's in charge of the kids, who's trying to work and be in charge. Like, it's just a complicated schedule. And so yesterday it was my day to be with them for like half the day, and I was in charge. So lunchtime came, and we were all sitting around the table. I'm like, well, here's an opportunity. We're at lunch. Here's my Bible right here. Okay. So I open up to Acts. I'm like, I want to read you guys something. So I read the first 2 chapters of Acts to them, and then we talk about it. And I'm like, we could do this a couple times a week probably and have amazing conversations. It's simpler than we make it to be, I think. And just having that, let me just read you this story and then let's talk about that. And I can see the wheels turning in their heads, and they're like, oh. So I just trying to encourage more and more families and parents to take the reins and not wait for COVID to be lifted or someone else to do it for them. Like, take the reins and go do it yourself, because they're getting older every single day. So
I mean, I love what you said about, like, for me, you asked me if we have a kids, kind of how are you helping kids? And I don't know if we'll ever have something like that. I don't know if that'll ever be our target, at least right now. But I think the church needs to do a better job. And even digitally, like, this is what I want to kind of put together, some sort of collective of, if this isn't your cup of tea, let me help you find someone who is. Pastor Mike is great at this. They do this. They have groups already. If that's what you need, go hang out with them. Like, if this isn't if you need more than what we give you, and I don't know. We want to set up some sort of collective where we have something for everybody. And if it's in the digital space, like, I want to team up with Alex. I don't know if you know Jacob, his last name is Coyne, or Cone or something like that. He's like a big TikTok.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he does Stay Here Live. But a few other creators that are on that have kind of expressed interest in the same thing, and just, why can't we do this together? Why has it got to be one name or the other? And you know what I mean? It's just making sure that we can help whoever ever comes to talk to us. If we don't have the answers for them, as far as like kids ministry, just for one example, I can point them to somebody else, or, I think we just want to just do this thing together. And I think sometimes we get a little caught up in but you need to stay in our circle and you're our viewer, or whatever, however you want to say that,
Well, yeah, I think this is a fascinating time because, and there's a lot of pushback on digital first ministry.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who would say, you're abandoning the church, or you're abandoning, or they use the verses that are like, do not give up meeting together, or and I just think those are the wrong focuses for what you're trying to do. That's, there's always going to be something to being in person with someone, right? There's always going to be something great about that, something special about that, something unique about that. But sometimes you're not able to. Sometimes they're not able to. And so why would we just say, well, you can't be with us, so forget you? That doesn't make any sense.
None.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Zero
it's
sense.
Like, forget about you. You're in another city. Sorry. Good luck.
We only got an 11 o'clock slot. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. There's something so honestly just special about being in person, and experiencing a move like that in person is different than you can ever get from a screen, that you can ever get from the best headphones. I mean, there's something special about that, no doubt. But I think there's something about still doing life with people online. There's something there's something there that people I would never talk to will send me paragraphs. They'll never talk to me in person, but will send me paragraphs online that I would never get in person, And like, a part of the collective, even like, we want to have a conference. Like, what if we did something once a year and all of these digital space people try to collectively meet. And if we can still do something for online, because that's where our base is, but those that want to come and be a part of an in physical location, there's no details or anything worked out. This is just a dream I have. Then we can do that. There's so many possibilities of making all of that happen. It's just, we're coming at it at a way different angle. And yeah, we've had those messages too. Who's your covering? Who's this? What about meeting in person? And we've had all those questions too. So I get it.
Well, yeah, I there's just so much opportunity. I love what you said about, you have your dad who helps, and that feels like a covering, that feels like a mentorship, somebody who can help you stay the course, as you said it. Now, man, I was going to ask you something. There was something in there sparked something, you know what I mean? And then I forgot it. That's all right. Well, I want to thank you, Aaron, for spending some time with me and being willing to have this conversation with a total stranger, but at least we're close in proximity. I had no idea you were in the Central Valley.
We'll do this in person next time.
Which I think speaks to what you guys are doing a little bit, because you don't necessarily want to be area specific when you're trying to do this. So thank you so much for spending some time with us. Now, let us know if someone wanted to reach out to you, if someone wanted to see your service, if somebody wanted to support you in some way, how could they find you?
Yeah, we're just on Instagram at The Shift Online. Just spelled as it sounds, The Shift Online. All of our content's there. Send us a DM. We're really good about responding. So anytime you guys need to reach out. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Pastor.
Well, I hope you found that conversation fascinating. I hope that if you're in ministry, it inspires you to think outside the box of an hour on Sunday and perhaps engage people through other means. And maybe you're not called to do that sort of ministry, but I want you to think about the possibilities that lie therein. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one.